Hello and welcome. Happy Sunday. I'm so glad to have you here. If you're watching this live or watching the replay, I really appreciate you taking an afternoon to kind of hang out with me and do a little artwork. So if you're new here, my name is Brittany Lewis. I am a professional artist, author, and graphic designer, and I'm also the creator of the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. And so I started this live series a couple of weeks ago to sort of hold myself accountable for working on this project. I started this project in November of 2019, and it's been a long journey, but I've kind of gotten to a place where I'm ready to get it down. So I'm dedicating this time on Sundays, every Sunday if I can, to work on this particular project. So in the last couple of weeks, well, first of all, this week we're going to be working on the Two of Pentacles, and our camera is working today. So I'm super excited about that. So I'm like, we're off to a great start. So the camera is working. I hope you guys can hear me very well. This week we're working on the Two of Pentacles. Now, this is our third episode of this live series. In the last two episodes, we worked on the Two of Cups. And over the last week or so, had a lot going on. I've had some live streams with the Graphic Artists Guild. I got one next week with AAGD. Super excited about that. So I've been on the move, but I did make time to go ahead and finish the Two of Cups. So I don't know if you guys were here with me, if you watched that. If not, I certainly encourage you to go back and watch those last two episodes of the Paint With Me Live. But I'd love to show you what I have done to finish the Two of Cups. Now, the Two of Cups for me is the twin card to the Lovers, and I have my Lovers over, and if I'm looking down, I'm not ignoring you. I see you there. But I'm also looking at my pen display, which is where I'll be doing all of my creation and my artwork. So if I'm looking down, just excuse me. But yeah, so our Lovers card is the sister card to the Two of Cups. Now for me, the Lovers does a lot. Has a lot to do with the joining of the mundane and higher self, or at least that was my sort of idea, my intention with this particular card. But I do invite you to see whatever it is that you see in this card. But I wanted to create the Two of Cups to be a mirror of that image. But instead of it being the mundane and higher self, I wanted to showcase or highlight the relationship between two beings. And so I chose to do an elderly couple because, for one, that was a demographic that I hadn't touched on in this particular deck, and also because I wanted to show growth between the main character in my Lovers card, and I wanted to sort of showcase her, kind of continue the story into the Two of Cups. And so I did that by a couple of things. First of all, I kept the color palettes relatively the same. I left her, now in the Lovers card, she has on a green shirt, and as she's merging with her higher self is wearing red, and I wanted to carry that over into the Two of Cups. I also wanted to keep the color palette in the background relatively the same. And so I chose red and I chose green for the colors of their outfits, because red and green on the color scale or color wheel are complementary colors. So they do one of two things. They either heighten each other, or they make each other stand out or become brighter, or they neutralize each other. So we're just giving a little more depth and a little more just nuance to the meaning and interpretations of the cards. And the average person may not even notice anything like that, but that's just some of the things that I was thinking about as I was creating this card. Now, we did start the first series working on this cup, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I'm proud of this cup. I'm proud of it for a number of reasons. For one thing, I've been an artist my entire life, right? And as I have gotten older and matured as an artist, my skill has improved. It sounds kind of strange. I've been drawing since I was a baby, but there were things as I've gone through my journey as a creator that I was not very good at doing. So objects was one of those things that I just was not great with articulating artistically. So I'm real proud of this cup. I'm really, really proud of this cup. And of course I use tools and things that I had at my disposal, not perspective, but the symmetry tool to make sure that it was even on both sides. But I really like it. It has great texture. And this also gives you a good bit of insight into what the close-up of the characters look like. So yeah, it came out pretty well. I wanted to give it a very warm feeling. This was something that I had to keep in mind when I go from my drawing. Hey, Lynn! Hey, Gooby! I'm so happy to have you guys here. So, but I wanted this particular card to have a very warm and inviting feeling. And so I wanted to keep the color palettes very warm, because love, I feel like, is a very warming emotion. And so we wanted to carry that throughout. And I think I did pretty well in terms of keeping the story consistent between the Lovers card and the Two of Cups. And I think I have here the original Lovers card. And if not, then we'll look at it another time. Just so you can kind of see, maybe not. I might not. But I wanted to show you guys the original Lovers, just so you could kind of see the difference between my interpretation of, not the Lovers, the original Two of Cups, so that you could see my interpretation of the Two of Cups versus the original Rider-Waite-Smith reference material. But c'est la vie. I hope you like it. I really like it. It turned out really, really well. One of the things that I have to do and keep in kind of mind is that I draw in one program and then I design the actual like card template in another program. So there's always a little bit of post sort of correction of colors and things like that. But it all worked out. I love it. I am super excited about it. But we're going to jump into this Two of Pentacles card. Now, last week I showed you guys a little bit of the behind the scenes of my planning process for these particular cards. It's probably the first time I've been this organized, just because I really just want to like focus on getting this project done. So we have, I noticed yesterday, or not yesterday, but when I was watching the replay of this, I couldn't really see what I was pointing to, like the cursor didn't come through. So I'm going to circle it just to kind of show you guys what it is that I'm working on. But this was the idea for the two of oh, where we at? Not move. For the Two of Cups. And then I have also my ideas for, so this was the Two of Cups, and then we also have our Two of Pentacles, which we are working on today. So I'm going to close this out just so that we don't have too much RAM taken up, and we're going to go into our Two of Pentacles. Now, the Pentacles is a suit that deals with the earth 3D material realm. So I have here some of my original Pentacle cards that I've already developed, because I want to keep things somewhat consistent. So one of the things about the Pentacles is that, of course, it does with the earthly realm, which on the surface is like, you know, your plants, you know, things like that. But it also deals with physical relationships. A lot of people associate money with Pentacles. Anything that deals with your physical, I would say, I won't say mundane, but sort of your mundane existence. It can go into spiritual, because sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of the times, your higher awareness affects the things that you experience here on earth. But the Pentacles themselves deal a lot with what happens in your life. And so there are a lot of metaphors in the work that I've created for the Queen of Pentacles, or for the Pentacle suit itself. So for the Queen of Pentacles, for example, the Queen of Pentacles, if I were to describe her as a person, would be sort of your mom who is juggling a lot, similar to our Two of Pentacles. This is your mom who is taking care of everything. She has her kids, she has her home, she has all of these things going on. And so I illustrated a woman inside of a garden, and she's almost swallowed by the things that she's around. But as we know, plants help us to sustain our oxygen levels. They help clear and cleanse the air. They're very positive, because they let out negative ions, which charge us positively. And so even though she's surrounded and almost swallowed by the things that she's surrounded by in her image, those things are giving her energy. They're helping to enhance her life. And so when I came to the Two of Pentacles, twos deal a lot with balance. So in my mind, if I were to characterize this as a person, I would think this is someone similar to our Queen of Pentacles, who is balancing a lot of her life. Now, as a creative, I have a tendency to want to put everything I can into a picture. So my mind was, okay, well, this is a lady who's, or person in general, doesn't even have to be a lady, but this is a person who's juggling her business. This is a person who's juggling her household. This is a person who's juggling, you know, self-care and all of those things. And I could not figure out how to articulate that in a way that did not convolute the image. So I decided in this particular case to keep it relatively simple, and to use this is probably one of a few cards that I have that is most closely related to the source material, because sometimes simplest is best. Now, I did take the time, or sort of take a little bit of a leap, and instead of having her juggle 2 pentacles, I had her kind of juggle a clock and a pentacle. I have not decided yet if we're going to keep the clock in. That's something that we'll kind of work through as we go along in this series. For right now, yes, I kind of want her to. This is someone that both the Queen of Pentacles and the Two of Pentacles are 2 characters that I identify with and that I have personally felt the energy of heavily this week. So I mentioned going live with different organizations and doing a lot of work. Sometimes that energy can be completely overwhelming, but I think our Two of Pentacles handles that with a bit of grace. So I wanted to illustrate that in her movement and do that sort of thing. And so we're going to keep going. Now, one of the things that I will say, and I know I'm talking like 90 miles an hour, excuse me, I'm excited. But anyhow, one of the things that I want to keep consistent with this card, comparing it to the rest of my Pentacle cards, is that all of them are somewhat green, but they all have an airy feeling about them. So again, I want this to feel like she's delicately balancing her time. She's delicately balancing her money. She's standing in a very precarious way where she's obviously balancing her own body weight, so she's not falling. She looks like she's in control. I want to keep that energy, that lightness in this picture as I did with the other pictures. This is my Knight of Pentacles over in my reference box here. So this is my Knight of Pentacles and also my Page of Pentacles. So those are the 2 other Pentacle cards aside from the Queen that I've done. And again, they all have a sort of outside airy feel to them, and that's something that I want to keep consistent in this particular card. So I'm just going to use what I have here. I'm going to use these as my references, and I'm going to tone my canvas. I've already put all of my sketch material into a folder that's over here labeled sketches, and I try to keep my layers labeled because as the picture progresses, it'll be like 100 layers, and if I don't know what they are, I'll get kind of lost in my own work. But I do have all of my sketch material, all of my reference material into one folder, and I have it set to multiply. So what I'm going to do is lower the opacity, and the reason that I do that is so that I can draw underneath it. It's not going to be on top of it. It'll be underneath it, but I can use it as my guideline. So I do have a layer here set up. We're going to label this BG for background, and I think I would like to pull out this one of these lighter green shades. Now I have not decided if I'm going to have greenery in her background or if I'm just going to kind of have her outside in this sort of like watery space. I don't know yet. But I think I'm gonna go back to my Queen of Pentacles, and I'm just gonna pick a very light green shade, and that'll kind of tone my canvas with something like that, just so that I can start working. All right. So that's going to take a minute. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited to have you guys here watching with me. I was a little nervous, and it wasn't even because I was working on or getting ready to start this live. I was watching something, and I don't know why I was watching it right before I started working on this, but it had me all jacked up. So I was watching this show. I'm a big sci-fi. I really enjoy horror a lot, but I really enjoy sci-fi. But I was watching a horror show, and the horror show is called Evil. And it's on Netflix, and Evil had me all wound up, and I was like, why in the world would I watch this right before going live? So if I'm a little jittery, it's not because I'm nervous to be here, but that show had me, the characters are so well written that they really had me a little bit wound up, because I was like, why in the world? Have you guys ever watched something and you get so engrossed in the story that you're like, why in the hell would that character do that? And it just had you a little tight. That's how this particular character has me going. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. So this live series has done a great job with kind of holding me accountable. And I say this every week because if I tell you guys I'm gonna go live, then I gotta go live, and I need to have something prepared to work on. And considering the fact that we've been working on this particular deck for so long, I think that this has become a very awesome opportunity for me to, work and kind of focus on getting it done, because I know you guys are really ready to see this happen. I'm always excited to see how enthusiastic people are and still very interested in this deck, especially since it's been since 2019. And so it feels good. It feels right. It's really nice to work on something that is a dream project. I'm really grateful to have an audience, whether, like I said, whether you guys are watching here live or you're catching the replay. I'm just really glad that people are interested in what I'm doing. It's an awesome and very humbling feeling. So this past week, I had actually, I think the last couple of live, I kind of expressed how much I really enjoy going live. And so this past week, I had a couple of opportunities to do that with the Graphic Artists Guild. And it's like when you put something out in the atmosphere and you know, feel a certain way about it, whether it's good or bad. The atmosphere has, not the atmosphere, the universe has a way of bringing so much more of that into your life. So you really have to kind of be careful with what you say, what you think. But in this case, it was really awesome because I had the wonderful opportunity for hosting the Guild Goes Live Friday a couple days ago. And that was my first time hosting. It kind of came a little bit last minute. I had forgotten. I had agreed to do, I think, orientation. So I also yesterday, not yesterday, but Friday. So I did two. I did the Guild Goes Live, which is available to anyone to watch. If you're online, you follow the Graphic Artists Guild, or you kind of look up the Graphic Artists Guild. You'll have the opportunity to kind of pull up those videos. But I was able to host that for the first time, and then I was also the host of our new member orientation, which was a lot of fun. Now, I've been a member of the Graphic Artists Guild since 2022, so it's only been a couple of years, but I'm currently the Southern Regional Rep, so it's really awesome to be able to learn from something and then be able to help other people sort of use the same resources to learn, or to sort of point them in the right direction to help them better their skills, help them better their business practices and things like that. And that's something that I do enjoy. I really do. And so I had the opportunity to do that yesterday. I was live. I didn't take long. Now, I know some of the other Guild Goes Live were like an hour long. But, I've had a lot of stuff going on, like in terms of business and, taking care of my family and things like that. So I didn't really have an hour to spare. But I did do a really awesome, it was like 8 minutes, less than 10 minutes. Tried to keep the energy high. And it was so much fun. I was like, oh, wow. We out here doing this. It's a trip. And so this coming up Tuesday, if you are just available, I am going to be going live with AAGD, who is the African American Graphic Designers Group or company. I think it's aagd.co. Super awesome group. Super awesome group of like-minded designers. And they've picked me this month to be featured, which is awesome. And I'm like, okay. Not only that, Sunday, so this coming Sunday, I won't be available for a live. So that'll be like the only one that I miss because my birthday is Sunday. So I'm celebrating my 38th birthday. So I'm like, all of these really awesome things and opportunities are coming up right around the transition into a new year for me. And that's really awesome because, I don't know, I feel really grateful. It kind of helps me keep my energy up. It kind of helps me stay focused, and it feels good. It really does. Transitions sometimes can be very, very difficult. It can also be very scary, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It's just like, hey, things are changing fast. Sometimes faster than we're ready for. But I think that kind of is a call back to this particular card. You have to gracefully balance those things out. And, just kind of don't forget to stop and smell the roses. Don't get too terribly overwhelmed. Everything's going to be all right. It's always working out in our favor. And so I'm super, I'm going to say super a lot because I'm just that excited to be growing and to continue to learn and to grow and to expand, even when it's super uncomfortable. Because sometimes it is. Sometimes growth is uncomfortable. But I feel like no matter where you are in life, if there is something that you want to achieve, it's really never too late to start making those steps towards achieving that thing that you want to achieve. It's never really too late. And I think we're often our worst, sort of our harshest critics. So sometimes we kind of stop because we think that people are going to judge us if we have this idea to explore, whether it's people around us or whatever. Sometimes it's us. You know what I mean? Because regardless of what somebody else says or does, that shouldn't be cause for you not to do what it is that you want to do, not to explore different things, not to be, make mistakes or anything like that, because it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay. I don't care how old y'all. It's okay to learn and to grow and to be better and to learn to be better and do all of those things. It's all right. And I support you in it. So if there's something that you want to do, and maybe we'll have guests on here one day. So if there's something that you want to do and maybe you want to talk about it, or you want to chat up while I paint and you tell us about what's going on in your life, by all means, let me know. Let me know. Because again, I'll be 38 come Sunday. And I think that sometimes we feel like at 38 you should be at a certain place in your life. But as I grow and get older, I learned that nobody knows what they're doing. Don't nobody know what they're doing. I don't care how old they are. We're all sort of trying to figure this out. And one person's course of action may not work for you. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that has to be your course of action. One person's rapid growth doesn't mean that you're failing because you're not growing as fast. It doesn't have to be that way. You have to be okay with where you are, because you're always where you're supposed to be. Always. So if you're here with me, then you're supposed to be right here with me. And I appreciate you being here. But in life, we are always where we're supposed to be. I think the important thing is, if you find that you're unhappy with something, sort of paying attention to that. So if something is because sometimes we don't know what we want to do, right? Sometimes we don't know what it is we want to do. We don't know where we want to go, how to get to where we want to go next. But knowing what you don't want can oftentimes let you know what it is that you do want. So even if you don't know what you want, even if you're not really clear on, the next steps or what I should do next, just kind of figure out what it is that you are unhappy with and then start rectifying that. So what I'm doing here in this picture is I'm laying down something that I call flats. This is a flat layer. This is just the local color, her base color. And I just kind of use the color of my Queen of Pentacles as her skin tone, and I think I'll probably keep it right there because it's pretty rich. It's very red, I feel, in color. So I'm just kind of laying down the base tones as best I can, and we'll do that for the entire picture before we get into details. And so this kind of helps me to sort of plot a course. Now, what I haven't decided, because I didn't draw her toes in, is I don't know if I want her to wear leotards because I didn't draw her toes in, or if I want this to be like her bare legs. Like I know, like she's wearing a one piece here. But let's go for it. Let's go for it. And we'll say that she is being very vulnerable because so much of her, body is being shown. So we're gonna let it ride. Now there's an easier way I could do this. I could lasso it, but I just really kind of like the motion of painting because it gets me warmed up. gets me warmed up, gets my juices flowing a little bit. But yeah, this is the flats layer. So typically when I'm doing an illustration, what I will do, and I did this a little bit differently with the Two of Cups, and I think it was because it was my first live and I was just trying to get it done. But typically what I will do is I will go through my sketching process, right? And I love to have a good solid sketch because for me, if I can't see it, it can be kind of difficult to articulate artistically. So I have to be able to sort of go through the planning process through my sketching. So it'll start with like a thumbnail, and then from that thumbnail, it'll expand into something a little more fleshed out until I have a drawing that I am ready to work from, because from that point on, everything is just a matter of coloring added details. Now, I do feel as though when you work like that, you still have to have some sort of know-how. So I still have to, even though it's drawn out, I still have to kind of know how a leg should be shaded so that it reads as a leg. Because I can, and this goes for people who trace. So this is super important. So I've seen that some people trace, and sometimes I do, depends on what it is I'm tracing. But just because you trace something doesn't mean that you can color it in a way that makes sense to the thing that you've traced, right? So there was when I do portraits, right? So when I do acrylic portraits, I don't trace them, but I do use a grid system, which is sort of a tailored trace. So basically what you do is you take your original image, you create a grid on top of it, and then you transfer that grid onto your canvas. So you create an equal grid on your canvas. It could be twice as big or whatever the case is. And then what you will do is you will match up your lines from your drawing onto your canvas, and you're pretty much tracing without tracing. And then sometimes you have people who will draw and use projectors and this and that third. All of that's awesome. I say use whatever tools you have. But what's important is just because you trace something doesn't automatically mean that it'll look the way that it's supposed to look. So you still have to have some sort of artistic know-how, some sort of understanding of anatomy if you're painting people, understanding of landscapes if you're painting landscapes, or whatever the case is. So even if I am, I have my sketch here, I have to sort of still have an idea of how I wish to shade this image. Now, thankfully, I used a reference for this picture, and I'll show you guys the reference. Now, the beauty of references is, oh, there it is. One of the things about references is that you don't want to draw exactly what you see, right? So in this one they have the same pose, and I actually picked this because I liked the way that he felt like he was going to topple over, but obviously he's dancing, so he seems to be in full control, and to me that read wonderfully with this particular picture. So I used his pose as a reference piece, but I changed it. Of course, I went from male to female. I took off his clothes and gave her a leotard. I changed the hands, those sorts of things. So, but references are awesome because they kind of act as a guideline. Now, what this will also do is, because I like the way he's lit, is I will use the lighting as a reference as well. So in terms of, not in terms of, but just thinking back to our Two of Cups, we talked a little bit about the cup being the source of light. And I think I started that picture with lighting the face. And because I wanted to create the illusion that the cup was sort of hovering in between the background and the faces, or between the people, I had to light the faces a certain way. So I'll show you that. Let's see, did I close it? No. Yes, I did. Oh, I closed it. Let's see if it'll come back up. But I lit the faces a certain way. So with this, she's pretty much just kind of out in the open, so I can give her a relatively neutral light. But I kind of like how they have the light set up in my reference image, so I'll use that as a guideline. But that is my reference, right? And this reference just so happens to be very close to the original source material from the right away, so it all just works out. But yeah, use the tools that you have, but you also have to have some sort of know-how. And I, for one, have so much experience that some things come easier than other things. Now, last week I did talk a little bit about some of the cards that I've done that I'm not necessarily happy with, and that I would like to go back and fix. And I think those are the case because I was doing something that I'm not necessarily strong in, and that's really landscapes. So once this loads up and I kind of show you the lighting of the Two of Cups, I'll kind of show you my, we'll go back to my Knight of Pentacles, because that's one of the cards that I really want to go back and fix. So see how in our Two of Cups, I created the illusion that the cup is hovering between them by lighting their faces a certain way. And so the same is going to happen with the light source from this particular picture, because it appears to be kind of coming down at an angle, and it lights him over the top here, lights this side of his body, and then this side is more in shadow. So we're going to use our reference not just for pose, but also for lighting. So yeah, there are some pictures that only a couple, there are only a few of the cards that I am sort of like, I don't know if I like them. or sometimes I can see where I've grown in 5 years. Like, I've grown exponentially artistically. And so I think one of the things that I've kind of thought about, and I don't know if I should be concerned about it or just kind of let it ride and see what happens, is I'm wondering if there's going to be a difference between the next 40 plus cards in terms of artistic style from the first 30 or so, because I'm not the same artist that I was 5 years ago, right? So that's something that I've kind of thought about. And when I was working on that Two of Cups, it was something that I ran into, because I have not worked on this project in so long, leading up to the completion of the Two of Cups, that when I got toward the end, it was not reading the way, like it didn't look like the picture I just showed y'all. It didn't look like that at all. And I was having to, first of all, not freak out. Was one thing. Don't freak out, it's gonna be all right. But the other part of that was that I had to remember some of the things that I had done to the other cards. Now, because I have done 30 plus cards, sometimes I can just go and take elements from previous cards and kind of add them on top of and just kind of manipulate them to make them work. And that helps with consistency. And so that's kind of what I did with the Two of Cups, because the Lovers is the sister card. So I had a background done. And I was like, okay, great. At that time, I had finished the grandmother's face. I'd also finished the grandfather's face. I had finished just the solid red shirt, and I think I did that on live, so you guys can check that out on live. So I finished the solid red shirt, and I finished his solid green shirt, and I had did some of the background, but it just was not. It did not have that Cosmic Gateways look. So it didn't. And I was starting to get a little bit nervous, because I was like, oh man, I'm super rusty. Not that I'm rusty in creating, because I've worked on projects and stuff like that, but I was rusty in working on this project, and so it just didn't have the razzle dazzle that I needed. And so what I ended up doing was I pulled up my Lovers card, and I just took elements from the Lovers card, because again, these are sister cards, so it made sense for me to take sort of colors from the background and, you know, different things like that, and to use it as my reference, just like I'm using the guy dancing for the Two of Pentacles as the reference for this one. So yeah, so that was a little bit nerve-wracking. It is something that I've considered, though. It's like, okay, so if I'm a different artist than I was 5 years ago, you know, my skills have changed. Depending on what I'm working on, my style has also changed a little bit. How do I marry the two things? Or does it even matter? I don't know. So far, though, everything seems to be pretty consistent. But, let me show you. So the cards that, like, again, there are a couple of cards that I do want to go back and work on. Now, this is where it might help that I've grown a bit, because if I've grown a bit, then certainly if I go back and rework these particular cards, then they'll look a little bit better to me anyway. So love the Queen of Pentacles. I love the Page of Pentacles. She's one of my favorites. But the Knight of Pentacles is one of those that it's like, the idea is solid, but like I can as a artist, and you know, I guess artists are always our harshest critics. I can see where it could be better. So for instance, in disclaimer, earlier I spoke a little bit about not being really good with painting objects, and I've since gotten a whole lot better. So when I showed my Two of Cups, I was super proud of my cup, because I was objects were challenging for me, right? And so if we go back over here to the Page of Pentacles, objects are on point. The other thing that I have a lot to work on is landscapes. So I'm not the greatest with landscapes. I don't know if it's a struggle, it's just something that I don't do a lot of, and I don't have a lot of practice in. So when I do them, I can see where like we can do a little bit better. So in this particular picture, this side I love the stairs. I love the concept of this card. I just feel like this area, like it could be better. That could be better. This has always bothered me. So when I was planning this, I was just thinking of like fantasy landscapes and things like that. So I was like, it doesn't necessarily have to be pristine, but it still has to make sense. So I would like to sort of close the gap between this rock and this one, or sort of create a ledge where this part right here makes sense. This part I like this here. I like this vine that hangs down. I don't really like the top, and I don't really like the side. So I know that's probably just me nitpicking, and it may not even matter. But those are some things that I'm thinking about. So on the plus side, well, yeah, my style has changed and I've grown as an artist, but that actually might be an asset to some of those cards that I don't necessarily like in terms of how they were done. So yeah, we're just gonna finish. Where am my book? There we go. There we go. All right. So we're going to wrap up doing her skin flats, and then we're going to do her leotards. So if you're just joining us, thank you so much. Or whether or not you're watching this live or the replay, I really, really appreciate you being here. So yeah, we're continuing with our Two of Pentacles. And this is a card that even after we finish this live, because again, I want to keep that momentum of like getting these things out and getting this deck to you as quickly as possible. I will continue to work on this throughout the week. And then when we come back on the 28th, because I won't be here on the 21st, it's my birthday. But on the 28th, when we come back, then we'll just kind of pick up where we left off. If it's not already done. So if it's done, then we'll move on to the next card. I don't know. I'm thinking of a color I should put her in. So my first thought, and it may just be because I was painting the Two of Cups at the time, and I had my main character in red. And I give things a lot of thought, right? So to me, the Pentacles, and not to me, just in general, the Pentacles deal a lot with the material, with the physical, right? So I was thinking in terms of chakras. So I was like, if I was to pinpoint the Pentacles, or to sort of place the Pentacles to chakras, I would go from the root chakra all the way up to the solar plexus. So that's your root, your sacral, your solar plexus. That'll be yellow, orange, and red. So I was thinking, and I was like, well, I don't know if, again, sometimes I don't know if things are going to be too ambiguous or too on the nose, or just, do it and see. But I was thinking of making her leotard gradient from yellow, orange to red to symbolize those three chakras. And I was thinking, well, maybe we could kind of stick to red. I don't know. What we'll do is we'll try it out and kind of see. And if it doesn't look good, then at least we tried, right? So what I'm going to do is I created a layer. So before I move on, let me label this layer as skin flat. And then this layer is going to be her closed flat gradient. And what I can do is I can manually do this. And I think that's probably going to read the best, or I can do it with a lasso tool. So I think for right now, I'm going to just brush it in. And then if I don't like it, and we just, change the color. just that simple. So we're gonna go with red, and I'm picking. For me, it looks like a little bit of a pinkish red. It's not. Maybe a bluish red would be the best description of this. So it's a little bit of a bluish red. It's not a very warm red. It's a very cool color. So I'm thinking that might be pretty all right. A neat nod to the different systems that apply to tarot. And tarot is one of those mediums that is so you can get so much from the cards. Like, you can read so much into it. I think the key to tarot is asking the right kinds of questions, right? So when I was reading pretty actively, one of the things that I would do is I would help my clients form the best possible question. A lot of times, and if you're a tarot reader, you can certainly relate to this. A lot of times people are wanting to know about their love lives. What is he thinking? What is she thinking? Will he call me, kind of things. But the way that I would help kind of coach and guide those tarot decks, tarot readings, for one, we don't go into what somebody else is thinking. Not in my practice. I don't do third-party readings. Now, there are plenty of people who do. That's their business. For me, it never feels right to do that. I don't read for someone without their permission. So we restructure their questions, and I kind of help them guide, not staying away from what they want to know. Sometimes people just want to know what they want to know, right? But with that understanding, helping them to sort of reframe the question, reframe their thinking, and kind of look at the situation from a slightly different perspective. So anytime I get those kinds of questions, I always, redirect and say, okay, we get down to what is it actually that you want to know? Like, has this person given you any indication that they're going to come back to you, in a much more sensitive way, of course. But that is something that, let's see how I like that. I don't like that. Yeah, so tarot is one of those things where your question is so very important to the type of information that you get from it. And so me adding these little things as the artist, that's sort of, hey, me. Well, thank you so much, hon. Happy to have you guys here. Thank you all for joining me. So with tarot, but with these cards, I'm putting so much thought into certain things, but obviously the people reading with these cards are going to get from that whatever it is that they see, and I love that. So when I was working on the Lovers, I think when I the first time I posted it, and I was talking about, well, yeah, you know, this was an experience I had in a meditation, and which is true. It was something that I saw in a meditation, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, that's my Lovers. The next, I would get people who would see something completely different, right? And they would say, oh, well, you know, that reminds me of Gemini. And I'm like, well, you know what? I didn't even think about that. And as I got to digging deeper, you know, I could see certainly the correlation between the zodiac of Gemini, the ruling zodiac of that particular card, and what I had created. So I want to be able to give as much symbolism and, you know, kind of give as much of my thought process and a lot of my ideas into these cards. But everything that you see or whatever you will get out of it will be solely dependent on your own intuition, but also the questions that you ask. So for instance, I had a reading where I think the Three of Swords came up, right? Three of Swords came up. Now, off top, you know, if you're familiar with tarot, off top, Three of Swords is like, well, sis, you looking at some heartbreak, you know. But I was able, because of the question that I had asked, I was actually able to get something slightly different from that particular reading, and it gave my client comfort. But I had to work with her to sort of get to the bottom of what it was that she wanted to know. And then once we did that, we were able to get more in depth in the cards themselves. So when it comes to cards like this, where it's not as, you know, there's not as many things going on in the card versus like your Queen of Pentacles, which is like surrounded by all these plants and things like that. You'll still be able to get tons of information from it, just kind of depending on where your mind is, the questions that you're asking, and what comes up to you intuitively. So it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to, like, once this is finished, to kind of hear you guys read with this deck and kind of see your, you know, how you interpret the cards, and just kind of to release it into the world. And also, which also helps me, right? Because I think sometimes as artists, and this is where I can credit art school, right? Sometimes as artists, we don't necessarily want to be critiqued on our work, or we aren't necessarily interested in other people's opinions of what we do, right? With tarot is one of those things that, because it is such a widespread medium and so many people use it, and so many people take I'm a deck collector, right? So many people collect decks and are heavily invested in the artists and things like that. It's really going to be awesome to kind of see how you guys feel about this once it's done, and see some of the readings that you guys get from it. Hey, Elowen. Hey, Ryan. So everything's okay. So I'm glad to have you guys here, but it's really going to be kind of awesome to see how you guys respond to the cards themselves. Now, some of that is going to be practical, because I want to make sure that we actually have a high quality card. So just to kind of give you guys, and I'm glad the camera is working too. I'm glad that you guys are here with me, because I want to show you the size of the cards. Okay. So we're going to take a little bit of a break from drawing. Okay, so this was a test print of the card. This is your standard tarot deck size card, right? This is had a test print because I wanted to check the colors, but I had to actually shrink the size of the cards that I was going to be printing, because I wanted to just kind of, you know, get a look of the colors. And this kind of helps me visualize. This is such a strong, powerful tool, because having it printed, even though the whole deck is not done, but having a few cards that I have printed kind of helps me to visualize having this thing and being able to print play with them. So this is just test cards, so there's no back design or anything like that. But this is your average sized tarot card, right? This is an oracle card, so it's a whole lot bigger. This is the spirit animal oracle, and you can see that your average tarot card, and I'll use the back because it's a little bit lighter, but this is your average size tarot card versus an oracle card. And as we know, you guys that read, oracle cards can come in a gajillion different sizes, and they have all the meanings are dependent on the books and that whole thing. But this is an oracle card. This is the animal spirit oracle card. Okay, now this is the Crow Tarot. Now, Crow Tarot cards is the card size that I have in mind for the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. So this is our test print, which is our average size card. And I'm going to put this up. So as you can see, Crow Tarot is a little bit bigger than your average size card. This is going to be the size of our Cosmic Gateways Tarot. And then this is there. This is printed by US Games. And again, this is the average size tarot deck and card. And then this is our actual size. So this is going to be the size that we go with. Now the reason that I did that is because I actually really like the size of this particular deck. And I got this early on. It's a little bit bigger. Now I don't have super giant hands or anything like that. But I like how this feels. This is again your average size tarot card, which it shuffles really nicely. One of the things about it being bigger is that I have to be very careful and conscious about the card stock. Yes, Elowen, that's exactly right. There's going to be so much more room for the artwork. And because I don't plan, so like Crow Tarot has a border around it. I don't think Spirit Animal doesn't. So Spirit Animal is borderless. And then mine is going to have this, and I'll put it up a little bit closer. It's going to have, well, here we'll look at this one. Over here on the reference image for the Queen of Pentacles, it has a very thin border. I sometimes show this on social media with a black border. I just kind of do that because I use a black background. It kind of helps me, put the image together. It looks like my picture. There we go. Okay, so we're back. So yeah, so you see how there's a black border here? That won't be present in the card. The card will just be like this rounded corner, no other border, and then this gold border. Now, here's the thing. Because I have the writing like for all of the major arcana cards and also all of the court cards at the bottom, the border looks great with the words at the bottom. But when I switched over to formatting my Two of Cups, I moved the numbers to the top, and I was like, I don't know if I like the border. So I don't know. I have like 30 something cards already formatted and ready to print, so I don't know yet if I'm going to keep the border or if I'm going to like and when I say border, not the, so we won't have the extra white bits. It'll all be artwork, right? But it'll be the this, and I don't know if it's focusing, but this little gold, small gold line around it. So I don't know yet. And those are just kind of things that I'm developing and sort of working out as I go. And so I'm just kind of happy to have this. I'm happy to have you guys here so that you can see it, because sometimes it's difficult for me to show it like on a regular social media post. So that's why I'm so appreciative of these lives and so glad to have this opportunity to talk to you guys face to face. Again, whether you're watching this live or the replay, just kind of giving you this behind the scenes look and some of the things that I'm thinking. I think it's pretty awesome. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm cool for it. So yeah, so that is what I'm thinking in terms of the sizes. And last week the camera, for whatever reason, just would not work. And I guess, all things happen the way they're supposed to. So I'm glad that it's working today because we have a few more people on with us today so that you guys can see firsthand what that's going to be like. So yeah, I like the larger size. To me, I love how Crow Tarot shuffles. Oh my gosh. I do, because what I find is that because it's a little bit bigger, I get a better shuffle from it. And thank you so much, Ella, when she says everything she's seen so far looks awesome. I really appreciate that. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking with the sizes. I'm glad I kept those on my desk because I had them there last week, and I was like, well, let me just leave them there just in case things work out and I can show you guys what that looks like. So everything's going to come down to the quality of the cards too. Now, you guys are watching the artwork. Now, with the deck being a little bit bigger, I cannot go to like a 400 GSM, which I wouldn't do that anyway. I don't know if you guys have the Modern Witch Tarot, but I have it from when it first came out, and those cards are so thick. They're so thick, which makes it super difficult to shuffle. So I'm thinking 350 is probably the happy space. I do have, when I went early on in the process, I actually had an opportunity to speak with a couple of manufacturers, so I was able to order sample cards, which gave me an idea of widths, like thicknesses, cardstock thicknesses, cardstock finishes, and things like that. I think these are all, with the exception of the Animal Spirit. Animal Spirit is a matte finish. I like the matte finish, but I believe that your not page ones, but the Crow Tarot is a little bit of a glossy finish. I know for sure that these are a little bit of a glossy finish. I like this. I like the matte as well. I think the only other matte deck that I have is the Botanica, or is it Botanica or Botanical Tarot, something like that. But it was that very first black tarot deck that was all flowers. Awesome deck. That one is a little bit thicker, so I think that one might be a 400. That one is shorter than your regular tarot deck card. It's shorter, and I want to say it's wider too, but it is really, really hard to shuffle. And so I kind of want to keep that in mind because I want you guys to be able to use the deck. Like, we ain't putting all this work in for them just to be pretty. I remember the guy, and I ain't gonna blow up his spot because I really enjoy his deck, but there was a guy who created a deck, and I don't think he took into consideration that people would be using the deck. Yeah, 400 is way too thick. 400, the card stock is way too thick. It's so difficult to shuffle. And again, because this is going to be a bigger size deck, could you imagine? No way. So I'm looking at about 350. I think 350 is the sweet spot. But what I will do is, because I have not talked to these manufacturers that I've considered since the very, very beginning. So I know prices of things have changed significantly. I also know that the quality has changed quite a bit. So what I will do is probably, I'd say maybe April of next year, I'll start to, I don't know, I might even do it sooner than that. Sometime after Chinese New Year, because things are a little bit wonky in terms of manufacturing around that time of the year. But somewhere around there, I will actually contact a couple of companies that I was speaking with, and some of the companies that I know some other deck creators have used, and I will order some more sample decks. Now, when this goes into production, before we go into ordering however many decks I have, most of the companies have a 500 minimum per order quantity. So as a creator, someone getting something manufactured, usually you have to order a set number of units, right? And most of them in this realm are like 500. So I don't want to toot my own. I think we're gonna do way more than 500. But before I go to that though, before I order like the full on order, what I will do is have some sample decks made. Now, I remember I talked a little bit about this in the last live where I had taken Benabelle Wynn's course on how to publish a tarot deck project. And one of the things that she sort of was like, well, you really don't have to do that because they are always going to send you your best. I would prefer to have some reference to how it's going to look before putting in the big order than putting in the big order and then I get them and it's like, oh no. Because when I got these cards, and this was just a test print that I did on, I think, Make and Play cards. So just a little, and it was relatively inexpensive. I think I paid like $20 for like a few cards or whatever, like the case like that. But when I got these back, I was very unhappy with how dark they are. Now, of course, if you've been following along, most of the cards are really dark, right? But what was happening was there wasn't a good balance between the light and the dark, and like the overall images were dark. Now, this is probably not the best example because this was one of the better ones that came out. And so after I did that, I had to actually go back and readjust all of the cards that I had done up to that point. So when it comes to time to put in like the order for these after the Kickstarter, all of the crowdfunding and pre-orders and all of that is done, before we place the larger order, I'm going to I'm going to purchase some sample decks so that I can get a good idea of the card stock, make sure I'm happy with the card stock. I want to make sure that I'm happy with the colors. That's super important. And also because I'm looking at this a lot, before we even get to that, I'm going to have somebody, go through and edit it and make sure all my spelling and all that's correct. But I want to be able to make sure there aren't any mistakes, right? I want to eliminate mistakes as early as possible, as soon as possible, so that when you guys get your copy of the deck, it's the best that it can be. So that's super important to me. And so there's a lot that goes into it. When I started this project, and I talked a little bit about this before, this was just something that I wanted to do. Like I didn't know. I had no idea. idea. I had no idea the amount of work that goes into it. But I'm happy to have this experience. I'm so excited about it. Man, like just having these test cards, like I said, it's one of those things that really kind of helps me manifest this into being, because I can hold it even if it's not the size that it's going to be, even if the colors aren't as vibrant as I want them to be. I can put this in my hands and I can say one day, this is going to be a real thing. And so that's awesome. So I'm really thankful to be able to have this experience. And then because I am who I am, I want there to be more decks that are expressive of the person who's creating them. So one of the trends that I've seen is that, tarot decks come out left and right. It's a constant thing, right? There's never not a new deck coming out. What I find though is that sometimes, and there ain't nothing wrong with this, do what you want to do if this is you. But sometimes people put out decks just to put out decks. Like, people gonna buy them, I'm gonna put it out, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I think the ones that I really connect to myself, the ones that I collect, and ones that I purchase and go after, are usually people who are connected to the artwork in some way. So most of the decks that I own are indie decks because I feel like they have a little more soul to them. And so I'm hoping that this inspires more of you guys to go out and create and, do what you want to do. If there's something that you want to do or something that you want to be seen, and I mentioned this earlier, do it and tell me about it so I can have you on with me. So I'm not just here running my mouth. I want to be able to support you in whatever it is that you're doing. So yeah, I want to see more of these types of projects come out. I want to see more people be more expressive in their artwork because, I love money. I love money, right? I love money. I want you to love money. I want you to have money. I want you to be prosperous in any way you possibly can, right? But I want you to do it in a way that makes you happy, because all money isn't good money, and you don't have to necessarily cater to or pander to the masses. There's always an audience for everything. I promise to you. I promise. Listen, I ain't gonna name no names, but there are some rappers out there today, some lady rappers, and I'm like, I don't know who listening to me. I don't know who, but there's an audience for her. She's catering to someone. There's somebody that identifies with this person. There's somebody that sees themselves in this person. And likewise, whatever it is that you do, whether you're making a tarot deck yourself, or, you want to start a baking business, or you want to start a YouTube channel, or whatever it is that you want to do, I can guarantee you there's an audience for it. Now, it might start off slow. It is what it is. But everybody starts off somewhere, and don't allow that to discourage you. Now, for me, I guess it's important. Let me go back. It's important for you to know why you're doing something, right? So if you are very clear in your why, the numbers will come. You have to play the long game, right? I think sometimes we kind of get caught up in the viral videos and people finding what appears to be very quick success. But everything takes time, and it all kind of starts in your mind. So you have to believe that you can do it. And you have to go for it, man. You have to do it. Now, I talked about, I have a video from a few months ago where I talked a little bit about fears and being afraid and procrastinating because we're afraid. And because let me just be real transparent. I'm a little bit of a procrastinator, right? But it's not always, I don't feel like all procrastination is equal. I don't think we always procrastinate for the same reason. Sometimes it's just our intuition telling us to sit down, but just hold on for a second, right? Sometimes it is, for me, if I have a project, for example, that I feel like I can knock it out in no time, like I'll wait till the last minute to do it. It's, that's real. It happens. But what I have found is sometimes I procrastinate because I'm afraid to move forward. Change and expansion can be a scary thing, right? Especially if you have never seen anyone do this before, whatever that thing is. Or maybe you have, some old programming from when you were a child, and you just feel like, and that's what's holding you back, and you're feeling like, well, maybe I can't, maybe I won't succeed, or whatever it is, right? Sometimes fear can hold us back in the worst possible way. So the sooner that you can identify that fear, and the sooner that you can kind of work through that, I think the better off you'll be. And that's me really talking to myself. Because talking like a sage, but I certainly deal with a lot of this myself. And up to recently, I had gotten really, for whatever reason, I was having anxiety really bad about whatever. I don't know what I was upset about. But a lot of that was centered around a future or something that hadn't even happened yet, right? And so in my mind, I was creating like the worst possible scenario, whereas, again, it hadn't happened. So if it hasn't happened, it can very well go right? And so we want to kind of focus on, let's just get clear on why we're doing it. What is your why? And then just kind of stick to that. And then from that point that everything always works out. And so that's sort of, one of the life lessons that I've learned over the years. So right now, I just kind of laid down. I don't know yet if we're going to keep this gradient. And if you're just joining me, I did this because for me, the Pentacles is a very physical, of course, it has to do with your third dimension, your earthly realm. And so I associated that with the lower three chakras. So your root chakra, your sacral, and your solar plexus, moving up from bottom to top. And so the idea was to maybe highlight that in her outfit, in her leotard. I don't know yet if we're going to keep it, but we're, have fun. We're going to see how it looks. If it looks good, we might keep it. If not, then I might pick a solid color. Like I really like that yellow, goldish yellow on her. Might keep it yellow. I don't know. But one thing about being creative is that there really are no wrong answers, right? And it's best to just have fun and kind of see where it goes. Now, I talked a little bit about having happy accidents. This is kind of how it happens. So I will try something, or I will do something, and it's like, oh, that looks good. And so from there, we just keep it. And so that's how happy accidents happen for me. And so I'm giving her blue hair. I don't know if I want to keep it blue. I was kind of trying to go dark. My Page of Pentacles have blue hair. But again, we're just going to try it out. If I don't like it, I can always change the color. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, if there's something that you want to do, man, do it. It ain't going to get done until you do. And even if you see someone else do it, that doesn't mean that you have to not do it yourself, right? Sometimes we say sometimes we have ideas, we don't act on those ideas, and if we see somebody else do the exact same idea, and we're like, dang, I should have. You still can. You still can. If you've gone to a grocery store lately, I went to a grocery store and I was trying to find bread. You know how many bread companies there are? How many companies are making artisan bread? How many companies are making hamburger buns and hot dog buns? And how many juice companies there are out there? They don't seem to care. Even if they're all manufactured by the same people, it's so much variety in the world. And again, there's always going to be an audience for everything. So just as long as you're being yourself, so long as what you're doing is true for you and it feels right for you, because again, all money is not good money. As long as it feels good for you and you're being honest in your work, whatever that means for you and wherever you are in your life, I think things are always going to work out. So I'm team get out there and get it done and get creative. Oh, did I draw the wrong thing? I bet you I did. Nope, I didn't. Okay, good. So, so what I just did was I'm still doing my flats. So I'm still doing flat layers. Nothing's, laid out or anything like that. And so what I am doing is just kind of laying in her hair. And I got her hair blue, but I don't know if we're going to keep it blue, but we just experimenting. Her skin is, even though it's brown, it's pretty much an orangey color. Orange and blue are complementary colors. So they will either boost each other up. They will make each other vibrant. One will be more vibrant than the other, or they will neutralize each other and they'll appear duller. So blue and orange work pretty good together. It kind of depends on the value, meaning how light or dark either color is. And so I have her, and that was another happy mistake. I was just like, let me pick blue. But in terms of color theory, that's kind of how that works. And this isn't fancy. This isn't going to be fancy. This is our first go round on this particular card. And throughout the week, throughout the week, I'll do a little bit of work on it, and if not, we'll pick this up on the 28th, because the 21st, again, I won't be here for live because it's my 38th birthday, and I'm getting closer to 40, which is awesome. I don't know, some people get kind of I don't know how it is. Some people get a little bit nervous about getting older. I have, like, my hair is graying, and I'm like, man, I hope I look like Rogue from X-Men. You know how she has, like, not gold money pieces, but she has, like, the silver money pieces? Or, like, if I go gray, like, I want to go storm gray. Thank you so much, Element. Yeah, I want to be storm gray. I ain't, like, worried too much about dyeing my hair or nothing like that. I'm like, shoes, I earned these grays. So, yeah, that's exciting. I was, during my live with the guild on Friday, I had my hair up in like a little afro puff, and I could see like a silver streak, and I was like, go storm. And I was like, let's go. So, yeah, I'm getting closer to 40, which is awesome, which is, again, should be encouragement for you, however old you are. If it's something you want to do, man, go do it. Why not? Again, nobody really has all of the answers. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just kind of figuring it out. So if you can have fun while you figure it out, why not have fun while you figure it out? Why not? And that goes back to being afraid. Sometimes we're afraid of things. We're afraid of the possibility of things going wrong, but things could equally be okay, you know, and they typically are okay. A lot of things work out. Thank you. I'm glad, LONC. Told you you was here for a reason. We're always where we're supposed to be, but you know, don't let life, you know, don't let life make you forget to have fun in whatever you're doing, right? I was telling my husband, I was like, man, you know what, I've been taking life too seriously. You know, you kind of forget to have fun, and you know, we kind of get bogged down in the minutia of mundane life, whether it's because we're watching all the TV or, you know, whatever the case is, we're kind of keeping up with current affairs. Sometimes we forget to smell the roses, and we forget to kind of enjoy what's happening with us right now, right here in the right now. Right now, I'm good. I'm here, sitting here talking to you guys. I got my cat over here on the corner. I got my son walking around in the kitchen. I got you guys here on live with me. My painting is coming together really well. It looks good so far. So good. You know, life is good, and you kind of have to take the time to recognize that. I got a roof over my head. I hope you got a roof over your head, and if you don't, it's coming. Don't worry about it. It's coming. You know, I hope you've had a good meal today. I hope you drank plenty of water. You know, I hope you're somewhere safe. And, you know, that's all we have to focus on. Take those, even when it's like, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I listen to a lot of self-help stuff, right? I like my Abraham Hicks. I listen to Bashar, who is neat, really awesome dude. He's pretty cool. I don't know the guy who channels Bashar. Both Abraham and Bashar are beings who are being channeled by, you know, other people. So there's an active channel going, and they're getting these messages. Hey, Tarot Killer, how are you? So they're getting these messages from these beings from wherever, right? And so both of them have very similar messages. It is, if you are trying to manifest or trying to bring something into your life, whether you're trying to trigger a blessing or however you want to word it in your own ideology, if you're trying to have those positive things come into your life, even when things are like really jacked up around you, or they appear to be jacked up, you have to find whatever you have around you to focus on that is positive. So just like we went through, my cat's right here and my son's there, we sitting here together and we're having a good time. If that's all you have to focus on that. You know what I mean? Don't look too far ahead. Sometimes we look too far ahead and we're looking ahead, but we're looking at it from the lens of what's happening right now with us, right? So it's like, oh man, this just happened. to me today, and oh goodness, what am I going to do? But if you kind of, and it's okay to feel that, don't get me wrong, because we get into toxic positivity where it feels like, well, no matter what happens, you have to, don't acknowledge what's not happening right. No, it's fine to acknowledge that, right? Just don't stay in that space. If I woke up like, man, this invoice didn't get paid when I wanted it to be paid. But you know what? Invoice is out there. It's coming, and even if it doesn't, that means that something bigger is coming. So you have to kind of change your outlook on things. And stuff works out. It usually does. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We would not be here. We'd be off doing something else. Living, whether that's, transitioning out of this life or whatever the case is. But we wouldn't be here. So you have to pick what you focus on. And it's okay to have bad days. Just don't get stuck in that. Just don't get stuck in that space, because you're not doing yourself any good. So I think we're just about done with flats for today. I don't know. And I guess I could make this decision here with you guys. So I'm looking at the background, and I'm going to show you guys the original Two of Pentacles. Because where I am is, I don't know yet what I want to do about the background. I don't know if I want to just have her in this sort of matrix-like void, which would be kind of cool, because we're dealing with the Pentacles, which deals with the 3D, which is the matrix and all of that. That might be all right. That might be an idea. It definitely goes along with themes of the cosmic gateways and things like that. But so here's our original Two of Pentacles. So you can see there is a little bit of correlation between my reference image here, the image that I drew, and the original Two of Pentacles. He's dancing a little bit. He's doing a little two-step. So he's dancing. He is juggling his pentacles. In the background, though, there are some waves, some bigger, some larger. There are also some ships, some bigger, some larger. I know for sure I'm not painting the ships and the waves. I'm not the waves. I do sort of have a nod to the waves within sort of the puddle that she's standing in. I just don't know yet if I want to do like a full out background or if I want to just kind of keep it simple. So in my other pentacle cards so far, and there will be plenty of opportunities throughout this deck to like really go explosive with background imagery, but I just feel like I maybe should leave this a little bit simple. So in our Page of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles, all of them really are great examples of how much was able to get into the backgrounds of these pictures. I don't think I want to do that with this one. I don't know. But I say all that to say, I have some figuring out to do. So I'm not going to hold you guys a whole lot longer. It's been a great hour. I thank you so much for joining me. And I'm really humbled and really appreciative to have you here, whether you are watching this live or watching the replay. Sometimes I don't know what we're going to talk about. I just kind of get on here and get to talking. But I do appreciate you guys for being here with me today and spending your Sunday afternoon here today. If you like this sort of thing, I do want to continue it, especially since I have so many more cards to create. If you like this, I want you to leave a thumbs up. You know how YouTube works. I gotta know. So leave me a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe, because whenever I do schedule the lives, I schedule them. And then if you're in the newsletter list, you will certainly hear about them first. This week I did something a little bit different where I put it all over social media. So I'll probably continue to do that. But if you like this, make sure you leave me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments once I end this if you have any questions. So if you have anything that you want to talk about on the next live, if you want to join me on the live one day, let me know in the comments. I would love to have you on. If you have a project that you're working on and you want to talk to us about it, you let me know. I'd love to have you on. But I'm not going to hold you too much longer. Again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending the afternoon with me. And until next time, I want to wish you a prosperous and creative day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.